So our name is representative government. And, just to give a little background on kind of how government works, the government anywhere is split up into 3 sections, and it's executive, legislative, and judicial. Executive law is kind of putting the law into action, making sure that it happens. Legislative is actually the ones who are going to make the laws, and then judicial law is interpreting it, so they all kind of rely on each other to make sure that everything works out. And then you can have 2 types of government. You can have it where all the branches are separated, or you can fuse it. You can have fusion government, and that's where the judicial branch is separated, but the legislative and the executive are combined. Okay, so democracy is a difference in the legislative branch, and direct democracy is individual voters can make up the legislative and can vote on major decisions. So we have that in America, when there's a new president that's going to come, individuals get to vote for that. And then the other one would be representative government, which is ours. So.
Representative government is, the definition is the legislature is composed of elected representatives from each region of a nation. And it can be, it's like a self-government because the people have the control.
Okay, so the 3 defining features. So in order to have a solid, representation government, you have to have representation, which means that the democracy features an assemble of elected representatives from across the country. So each state, instead of individuals, each state would have somebody and they would represent them, and they represent that part of the country and make the decisions in making laws. And then you have to have power, so this elected assembly has to hold a major share of the national power, so they have to be powerful, because if they're not powerful, they're not worth anything. And then the last is suffrage, which is people need the opportunity to vote for these representatives, because the representatives kind of share their opinions. Obviously they need to vote for them, or it has nothing to do with their opinions. Okay, so the history and spread of representative government. So before this, before representative government, there was more dictatorships and bureaucracy where one person was on top. And during the rise of the West, it kind of switches. So from 500 to 1500, the ideas of representative government start to arise. The first would probably be the parliament that starts to get established in English. They're not there yet, but the ideas of how they would form are starting to arise. And then the early modern age, which would be the time when the rise of the West actually starts, it says that through English Revolution, which was the 1650s, the parliament-style form of government expands and they become more popular. And then because of that, people want it. People want to see that type of government. Once it's out there, and even in the smallest form, people are pushing for it, and they want to see that happen more concretely. And then modern age, which is the 1800s to now, it starts with a male suffrage in the United States, which means that white males were starting to be able to vote in the United States. And this is the first representative democracy advantages throughout the West and spreads to the world and beyond. So once this is formed, it spreads to the West, and then as the West gains more and more power, it then spreads to the entire world, and it's still spreading, so gradually achieved worldwide.
For India now, they have a democracy, and it's one of the largest in the world. They have a parliament. The parliament system is the legislative composed of president with 2 houses of people and the council of states. The parliament system was first seen in early England and has spread to India through Jawaharlal Nehru. He went to college in Europe, and when he came back, he became involved in the Congress. It's one of the oldest and largest democratic parties in the world. He was arrested and imprisoned for activities having to do with the Congress. And when he got out of jail, he became president of the Congress. He also became the nation's first prime minister and foreign minister, India gained independence in 1947. He established the parliamentary government and became known for neutralist policies in foreign affairs. He brought the parliament government to India because when he went to school in England, that influence kind of came with him, and then he brought it back to India.
And then just a little bit about like how representative government affects people. All governments have strong and weak points, so obviously this is a democracy, which means that the power is going to be more widely spread, and that means that there isn't one person on the top who can make decisions for everyone and maybe make the wrong decision, and people's opinions get to get voiced, and people usually like when their opinions are voiced because it means that it might be more beneficial to them. But a problem with it is that, especially when it first started, people at that time weren't highly educated, so even they were making decisions for themselves, but that doesn't mean that those were the best decisions for themselves because they were kind of ignorant. So it's good and bad. And that's it.